Okay, so let's get to our first story here, and the first one is, well, Game Over Zeus may be down and out, but there's new,
right?
Perhaps not so new, but certainly some pretty powerful banking malware out there.
So it's been getting a lot of traction this past week. There's a new banking malware out there called, I'm not sure the pronunciation because it's new. It's either Dyreza or sometimes also called just Dire, and that comes from a string that's in the code. When they look at the binary, they're able to see that that's in there. And this was reported by Network World. There's a couple of other people also that did a little more analysis. So this one's being distributed by phishing emails. One has the subject of your Fed tax payment. So obviously they're kind of trying to key in on the recent, back in April, everybody did their taxes. So they're probably trying to, leverage that as a means to coerce people to click on these. And then there's another one, an invoice number. That's a very typical scheme that we see with just invoice number and some random number, and that you have to remit your payment. And there's links in each of these. So they're not attachments. They're actually links, which is not completely uncommon. The one thing that's a little interesting about this one is they've been leveraging a service called Cubby.com, which is part of the LogMeIn service. And it's a place to store files and whatnot. They've used Dropbox in the past. A lot of these other actors have used Dropbox. Dropbox is pretty good about taking these down pretty quickly when they're notified about them. The LogMeIn/Cubby.com people might not be as quick to react. It's a legitimate service, but it's one that they're starting to use now. So they might get a little more time before people realize that the malware is being hosted there. It arrives as a .scr file. One of the interesting things about this does not appear to be an offshoot of the Zeus family. We know we've seen a lot of other variants that are based on the original Zeus source code that was kind of distributed out there publicly in the public domain. This does not appear, at least right now, to be related to that. It seems to be its own kind of thing. It uses browser hooking, similar to what Zeus had done, and that allows it to intercept what's going on inside your browser. Even when it's
in the browser is sometimes it's referred to, right?
It is. It's also, they're also calling it more of a man in the middle because what they're doing is they're browser hooking to intercept the SSL communications for certain banking websites.
Right.
And instead of actually just kind of getting the form data off of them, which is what Zeus would do, it's actually kind of proxying the traffic to their own server in clear text, and then it does SSL to the actual banking website and whatnot. So they're kind of in the middle as well here. They're using some of their own infrastructure to pass what's going on between the browser and the bad guys, kind of man in the middle infrastructure, and then to the real banking site. One of the things about just being in the browser is if the banking website has PIN codes and whatnot, those are temporary. So even if they're able to harvest the passwords, unless they can leverage it really quickly, they're not going to be able to really do much with that. With this, man in the middle more of an aspect, they can really get in the middle of the entire transaction and do it more real time as opposed to harvesting passwords after the fact.
So it seems like, I could be wrong about that, but it seems like that would be more detectable by the banks themselves.
Yes, you would
because
think so.
The originating addresses for a lot of these connections are going to start to see some overlaps and things like that. So hopefully there's a latch they can catch on to.
I haven't seen any mention of that aspect or any comments from banks related to this activity, but you would think that that would be the case. And they also, I think the CSIS or the Fish Me guys, I can't remember which, and part of their investigation, they did discover that there is a money mule panel, kind of control panel. And money mules are, these humans that they use them to temporarily hold the funds that are stolen in their own personal bank accounts and then transfer them out, usually via wire transfer or something like that. So they've discovered a control panel for this money mule related to this activity, with most of the accounts in Riga, Latvia. So again, you've got, Eastern European type activity here, not unusual for crimeware type stuff. So another one to be watchful for. We know we had Zeus Game Over was recently taken down. Maybe this is going to fill the void a little bit, or at least temporarily fill the void that was replaced here. If you don't have signatures already for it, take a look at it. You should be able to pick up any of this activity because it's kind of unique in the way it manifests on your network.
The one thing that I thought was kind of cool is that you see the request for the actual command and control, and right below it in the same exact traffic, you have a dump basically of what was sent from the victim's machine as a second set of HTTP headers.
Right.
So from like a packet analysis, packet jockey kind of perspective, I think that's kind of cool.
Right, you can actually see what should have been encrypted to the real banking website is all clear text in this kind of man-in-the-middle exchange that's occurring, right?
All right, thanks, John.